Attention bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, Yodelers! Welcome back. I am Japheth.
Had to think about that?
I'm Japheth? Question mark? Yes. I was like, how am I gonna say this in this tone? Because I'm normally like Japheth. Okay. And I'm with my fellow Yodeler,
Jackie?
Yeah.
Alon.
No,
I'm Peter.
And we are the Matterhorn Yodelers. And today we're gonna talk about how you can get in trouble as a cast member, or what will get you in trouble as a cast member.
Never.
Cast members are perfect at Disney.
Yeah, no.
As we previously discussed in our law episode, cast members never do anything wrong.
Innocent till proven guilty. Yes, we've had trouble with this one of like, how are we going to package it?
Yes.
And I've always been like,
how is this going to make us look like we're horrible human beings?
Yeah, I've had this dilemma where I was telling my stories and I'm like, I sound like a horrible cast member. So, to give you reference, I worked at Disney World for 3 years, so I'm only telling you maybe 8 instances where I was a bad cast member. Other than that, I was good. I promise you, I was not that cast member that was horrible. Did get praises and...
I don't know about you guys, I didn't have hardly any issues.
Yeah.
Granted, I worked there the least amount of time.
Yeah, you were, what, 4 months?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
It was 5 months.
And Jackie, how long did you work at?
8 months.
8
about.
months.
8, 9.
And so, Peter and I worked inside the parks.
Yes.
Jackie worked occasionally with, like, parade
And
duties
parties.
at parties.
I only worked in the park once.
Okay.
At one party. And I'll go into a story on that one.
Good.
And then...
One time, I've got a story about how I should have been fired.
That's pretty good.
And then I worked at the resorts, which, you know, you would think a lot of guests come in, but there was a lot of downtime where I wasn't talking to many guests.
Yeah. I could see, like, the hotels being, like, premier hospitality.
Yeah.
You're on point. As opposed to where Peter and I, where we are... Frontline and working as, I don't know, deadpan.
We had very heavily themed roles.
Yes, where we could get away with murder.
So, for those that do not know, I worked at the Hollywood Tower Hotel, the Tower of Terror, and Japheth worked at the Haunted Mansion.
Yes, as with other attractions.
He worked at other attractions as well, but
I got more trouble at the Haunted Mansion because my leash was a little bit longer at
that
attraction.
You get away with it a little bit more.
Oh yeah, I had so many. A lot of people at the Haunted Mansion go on to work at guest services at City Hall, and they always throw away those complaints at the Haunted Mansion, unless like it's a serious allegation.
Sure.
So that helps.
They scared me.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They scared you at the Haunted Mansion. Okay. Yeah.
So I'll have some fun stories. But as cast members, we have four keys at the time that we followed. At least Jackie and I. You had a different guest service.
Mine was a little different, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It still works.
So, Jack, do you remember what the 4 keys were?
No.
Okay.
You don't remember that part of your...
Efficiency.
You don't remember...
That's last, but that's what everybody knows is number 1.
You don't remember all of these things from the 8-hour day you had in traditions course?
Yeah.
So our managers would come around and they would ask you, hey, Japheth, what are the 4 keys?
Oh man!
Really?
They would ask them like, what would be an example? Like they would take you on a walk and like, am I going behind the woodshed? You know, like what's going on? You're like, you don't know, like, are you gonna put these cement shoes on and go into the lagoon? Oh, no, you just didn't know what was gonna happen when the managers picked you up. But yeah, they would take you on these 4 keys walk, and they would go and they discuss these. And I think this is the basis of how you can really get in trouble, because this is how we're getting graded or being watched for our hospitality at Disney. And so what they are safety first, courtesy, show, and efficiency. And I think they just picked up a new key called inclusion, which makes sense. Make sure everyone feels included.
Right.
I don't have any stories
I don't
of
have
that.
any
So
stories.
I don't want to have those stories because then I'm a really bad human being.
Yeah.
So we're going to stick with the 4 keys that I'm familiar with. And so the first one is safety. As everyone knows, with any issue at Disney, things break down, and we want to make sure everyone's safe. We went over a lot of that on the Disney, was it People versus Disneyland podcast? So go back. That's a fun one to get some of the things that do go wrong. So what are some ways an attraction, Peter, that you as an attraction host are trying to watch out for?
Seatbelts. Oh man, seatbelts. My attraction, you can literally die if you do not wear a seatbelt.
So the elevator, when it goes down,
You're going down faster than the speed of gravity. So if you're not wearing a seatbelt, you will go splat on the ceiling of your elevator car. So seatbelts are probably the most important thing that you look out for as a cast member working at the Tower of Terror. And you will get in big trouble if it's found out that you released an elevator with an open seatbelt. Ooh, big trouble. Like, because like when you ride the Tower of Terror, like even though you're in the dark, you're being watched. And so, for example, I would see I saw one guest stand up. Well, it wasn't me; it was somebody else. But they saw a guest stand up right in the middle of the ride, and they had to hit that e-stop. And
the dreaded thing that as a cast member having
you
to
never
do.
want to hit that e-stop
Because everyone's going to ask you all these questions. You have to fill out reports, and it's not fun because it's a judgment call.
Yep. And so hit it e-stop, and that person who sent the elevator got written up because
it's automatic.
It's automatic because like so as the people load into the elevator, there's little lights that blink. I think it's the same thing for most other rides that are like that. I know Star Tours is like that. They have a chart that lights up when the seatbelts are connected. So
Mission Space had that where make sure the harnesses are secure.
Yeah, and so for the most part, it's
Maybe they don't. I'm making it up. I think I'm making that up. Sorry.
So for the most part, like as a cast member, you know when somebody's not wearing their seatbelt because you can see that they haven't buckled it in. A lot of times, some people try to get away with it by pretending that it's not buckled in. They just have it over them and it says, "Sir, pull on your safety." I didn't push it in all the way. Yeah, I know what you're trying to do. Okay.
It's not my first rodeo here.
Right. And the situation that occurred with that cast member, the guy buckled it and sat on the seatbelt.
Yeah, I figured that would be it. And
that's what
happened. And that's why they ask you, pull on the yellow strap.
And yeah, it's very important that you follow those rules. So that was one of the big safety things for my attraction was seatbelts.
I can definitely see that. So I worked at Mission Space, and I'm the one that got written up for this issue. So it's for those who don't know, it's a centrifuge ride, and it's enclosed. So they want to make sure, because on the outside you have the loading area, and people watch the video for safety. And so as cast members, we walk around to make sure there's nobody in the bay. There's sensors there. There's really no way someone's going to get hurt on that ride with the safety protocols that are in place. And what happens is there was a person, he was in the ADA capsule, and he freaked out, and the cast member told him, okay, get out, and told him to direct them where to go. It's a round room, and there's only one door to exit out, and this guy kept turning around, and the person who released them didn't tell me that they released a person, so I thought I was good to shut the doors and initiate the ride. Well, I shut the door, and the cast member was in there, hit all the sensors, and an automatic e-stop. And I was like, what happened? And I'm just like, my heart drops because I'm college program and I want to go part-time. And this is a huge thing. Like, you get 2 of these, you're done. You're fired. But just getting 1. And because this guest was really rude to the cast member, so she was emotionally upset, so she had no time to really tell me what's going on. And so I opened up the door, and this cast member's just like belligerent, he was just not there. It was a very strange situation dealing with this. And so we just get him out, don't tell him what had happened, and he just moves on his way. Manager shows up because you've just stopped a ride, you're affecting efficiency, and sure enough, I bring him in, brings me in. They don't tell me that you're in trouble at first. They get your whole report. I write the whole report. It's very extensive. And then he goes, okay, it's your fault. And then I had to write a reprimand. Mm-hmm. I got written a reprimand, and I was really like shocked that I got dinged with a reprimand. Because I felt it wasn't my fault, but when you're the one in charge of that bay, it's your fault.
Yep.
And so, it is what it is. Yeah. Remember the manager's name's Larry. He was the one man no one liked, and it was like, Larry. But I got hit with that. In the end, yes, I'm the one responsible for that. I got hit with it. So I got hit with that one. Another one. So we talk about controls. You're at the control center.
Yeah.
That's the scariest position, right? Because you are in charge. If anything goes wrong, or if you miss because your eyes weren't on the screen, boom, you're hit with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like,
it's the scariest position, I think. Ever.
It is, because especially if you hit that e-stop and there's no reason for you to have hit that e-stop, even if you think you saw something and you were wrong, you get written up.
Yep, you have to really justify it.
Yeah, so
for us, like,
and the thing is, like, you gotta think, like, for example, I can't speak for a lot of other attractions, but most attractions, their controls have like 4 buttons. Tower had like 50.
Yeah, you have one set for each like elevator, right?
So there's 2 ride systems at my tower chair. I think at the California one there's 3, but there's 2 different ride systems in the Florida one, and so there's 2 tower positions. So there's 2 giant consoles that fill the entire room. Whereas, like, you look at Fantasyland, they got like 3 buttons.
Yeah.
You know, I've got like 50.
Oh, you'd be surprised about the Tiki room, man. Jose is high maintenance down. It's just like 1 button, and you hurry up and hit him with the stick. Yeah, Mission Space was like that too. You have 4 bays, and you have like 4 sets of E buttons, and you've got like 1 screen with all of them there, and you got to. It's crazy, and multiple keys to unlock things. So yes, there is an importance to that person of the console with all the buttons, the green, the red, the yellows, and everything. So I was working at the Magic Carpets of Aladdin, and it was late at night, and it's like midnight, the holidays, and I work with mostly at night with college program people, so they're not the strongest with remembering what to do. And usually with some of those rides, you can like do your job and you can kind of chit-chat with the other ones. Well, this person forgot that they were at the head console and they just walked away. They just walked away. And I'm sitting there with my thumb on the E-stop because they have 2 positions to watch. And it's for those who don't know what the Magic Carpets of Aladdin, it's a Dumbo ride. It's a Dumbo ride. You're sitting on Magic Carpets. And I'm just sitting there with my mind just like blown, and I'm all like, she's like, "Hey, what's going on? Hold on." I'm all like, go back to the console. Because I had every right to E-stop that ride and just let her fry. She would have, and I'm just like, go back to the console. I'm in full control of the ride at that point. Mm-hmm. And that's why they have that second console, to have 2 people initiate at the same time, and then the person at the console, head console, initiates, and then you have 2 people with their thumbs on the E-stop. And I'm glad that there is, because in that moment, she just lost her mind. It was like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. Right. There's only 1 person on the ride. And I'm just sitting here like, do I really want to stop the ride? Have this person freezing up there? You know, there's those judgment calls. But I had every right just to push that E-stop. I was like, that person, that would have been huge.
Yeah.
So, And another thing with the head consoles, not racking out. Or initiating the ride with racking out. So racking out, Jackie probably doesn't know too much about this.
I have no idea what
So
that is.
there's a safety protocol.
Jackie's a little quiet here.
So for these cast members, Jackie's here in the room.
I'm here. I don't have that too many safety concerns, so.
So there was, well, you have red, green zone, right? You
Yeah,
lifting zones.
You stole it from me. I was gonna mention it.
Well, sorry.
The one thing I have.
Oh, I'm in the red zone. Let me pull it back to the yellow zone. The green. Oh, yeah. I still use that. Like, oh, I'm in the red zone. Let me pull it back a little bit. It's still ingrained in me. But not racking out. So, in order to go onto the ride path, whether the ride is open or closed, you know, for safety issues, you have to get this special latch that goes over the initiation button, and you take a lock, you lock it, you take the key with you, and that prevents anybody from starting the ride.
Yep.
And that person
Big
goes on the
safety
ride.
concerns.
And we do that all the time at the Haunted Mansion because somebody trips the sensor, they're like, I'm going to get out, and you have to stop. Or they like, I'm going to change my child's diaper, and then it's going to hit a sensor, and because they drop it in the ride, and you're like, oh man, this sucks. So you have to go out there, check it, make sure everyone's safe, and so you have your key. Well, if you don't rack out properly, boy, that's huge, because that's how people die on rides, and it has happened. Especially with maintenance. This is not with just like frontline show. It is for maintenance people why they do that.
It's true.
And you're always doing announcements, all like, "Hey, the ride will be initiating now." Like, "Hey, this is last hope. If you screwed up and you're on the ride path because it's gonna go now."
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing of getting in trouble. So sorry, Jackie, I took your safety thing.
It's okay. So for me.
Yes. What do you got? Tell us about the resorts.
So I was in bell service and front desk. Not too many like safety concerns other than like security as far as like keeping information safe of like guests that are staying at the hotels and stuff like that. That's kind of its separate thing. But as far as like physical safety, it would be like in bell service, obviously, when you're dealing with a ton of luggage, is how to properly lift luggage, and you go through like a 2-hour training class of how to properly lift things.
Or put things in vehicles, too.
In vehicles.
Put one hand forward,
Yes.
push it back.
Anything as far as lifting, moving your body properly.
It is kind of good training, though.
Yeah.
Like I said, I apply it to this day. I'm like, oh, you should be better, take better care of yourself.
So there's 3 zones. There's the red zone, the yellow zone, and the green zone. You should always try to be in the green zone.
Makes sense.
Wait, green means go?
That's the construct, yep.
And so, you know, it's and they call it like the different zones of like how you lift things or bend and different angles. So if your like arms are straight out forward,
Oh my
and
gosh,
lifting,
red zone, Jackie, pull him back,
and you're lifting a box, red zone.
Red zone.
But if it's a little bent, it's yellow. But green is tucked in.
You want 90-degree angle arms. That's green.
90 degrees. Disney's really big at like pointing this out as far as.
It's just comical for us, for someone to be like
yes.
pointing Disney fingers, like whoa, red zone there, pull it back. All right, green zone. You look like you're like shooting guns, and like right there. So we would have fun with those ridiculous trainings, but it is helpful.
Did I follow it a lot? No, not in bell service. Your goal was get the luggage out as quickly as possible.
And so, how's your back right now? For HIPAA purposes, we will not disclose your personal like.
And that was another like safety concern. Like if you got hurt or like if you even like a little paper cut, you had to log every injury.
I do know that one. I remember that one.
You have to log every injury for legal purposes.
Yeah, I had a bloody nose one time, and they were like, "You need to fill out a report." I was all like, "I just picked my nose too hard." Do you really want me to write a report about me picking my nose?
Yep, they do.
Like, oh gosh.
For legal reasons, they want to know why you picked your nose.
First, they want to know why are you picking your nose on the job.
That show, written up.
Was it a Disney point? Like, my nose is not that big.
Oh, new things to add to my song.
All right, so we have courtesy is our next key. I think we're good with safety, right?
Yeah.
We're good.
All right. Jackie, what are some things that are not courteous that can get you in trouble? Putting you on the spot here.
So
I'm like, I got the cheat sheet in front of me. I'm like, oh, what's he telling? Okay.
I'm trying to think here. So, like, obviously, you just need to be nice to guests and, like...
That's a good rule. Like, that's the safest answer,
Just like-
and it explains it all. Be nice to guests, and you're gonna be all right.
You know, talk to them in a nice manner. Be considerate of their needs. And not if they, like, come up to you and ask you to do something and go, no, and walk away and, like...
Yeah. Yeah, that would be...
Go,
I think that sums it up. Those are good things. Swearing on stage is a huge one.
Yes, swearing.
That kind of
is
goes
a
with
big one.
courtesy and show. It's bad show,
Yes.
but it's also not courteous. I didn't see too much of that. Most of the
No.
cast members were good when you got off stage.
Oh, yeah. Backstage, it was
It was bad.
out the door.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was the venting.
Like, I got to see new sides to my friends. I was all like, I don't know if I want to hang out with you anymore. Like, you're crazy after when we're not working.
I had our cousin Jerry come visit me. Not me, but he was coming to visit the park.
Yeah.
But he came to visit me.
Uh-huh.
And his mother-in-law was there, and she's like, "You guys are so nice. You guys, it must be like so nice working with these people." I'm like, "These people swear more than Marines do." And she was just like, "What?" And she was just blown away. I was like, "Oh, these are the most foul-mouthed people that when they get off stage, it comes out."
Yeah, because once you get off stage, you're just venting.
It is.
It's a vent fest for sure. That's what happens in the break rooms. Like, everyone's just talking about, like, oh, this guest did this, and oh, the manager said that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real like us versus them mentality.
Oh, it totally is.
Oh, very much so.
So much so that, like, do you know the song from, like, Pocahontas, like, where the two sides are about to go to war, like, they're like, savages, savages, barely even human. I almost in my head would sing that song as I'm going to rope drop to let the guest into the park because...
You go to rope drop. If you're in charge of rope drop, some of these guests are savages in terms of, like, how, like, aggressive they are. They're trying to get ahead of you, and it's all like, dude, they're not going to let you in until I go in.
I have the access to the queue.
They're even like that with parades. I remember I was a
Oh.
cast member, right? And I
Parades,
go
yeah.
to watch a parade. I was on my off day, and I'm watching. I found that, like, a good spot. I was there early enough, and the parade's about to start. And then this woman comes in behind me, parks her stroller right behind me, and then her kids just, like, surround me. And I was like, really?
Oh, it's
And they don't care, and at that point, it's like, I'm just gonna walk away. Like,
the only time I ever screamed at a guest was 4th of July, and my job, I'm doing parade duty, and everybody, you have all, like, 80,000 people, or not, I don't know how many the capacity, but you have everybody wanting to be in front of the castle on 4th of July to watch fireworks. And my job was to secure an emergency way for you know, any situation. But guests don't care about emergencies. They just care about their view. And then I had one lady just scream at me, "I drove from Kentucky so I could watch, you know, fireworks, and you're preventing me." And I don't remember what I said. Maybe something more was all like, "Ma'am, if you have any issues with this, you can go talk to that police officer, because they're gonna kick you out. If you are going up to the police officer and it's not an emergency, they will probably escort you." I remember just like telling her, like, "You can go to them, but they'll kick you out of the park." Like, and she was just Like, she was just mad because there was a tree in her view, and the whole entire
Cut
time...
this tree down.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous because she wanted her, like, everything in the merge, and I was like, I can't. I'm going to get fired. And what happened was somebody stopped the entrance to Fantasyland, and, like, no one could get to the other side. So everyone was trapped Ad-Lib and Frontierland,
okay.
and it was just a huge miscommunication on that point, and everyone was just funneled to our point, and it was just boiling point. And, like, and with this poor girl from Australia, the sweetest person you ever meet, and she's just like, I had to like really lean into some guests, going like, you will not cross this bridge. We will have problems. I will get the police here. I was threatening people with getting them arrested. Like, did I have that authority to say they're getting arrested? No, but all I was told was all like, if any guest, you know, gets physical or anything, call over the radio and the police will handle it. It's such a hassle, and unfortunately, and I swore never to work a parade. And all respect to parade control people, that is, I think, the worst to deal with guests.
Yep.
Yeah, because all you're doing is yelling, basically.
Get by the road, get on! Because you're just yelling.
Yeah.
It's bad.
It's a huge. That goes back to safety.
Yeah. So, Peter, you have a story about giving guests
Bad direction.
bad directions. You mentioned this before.
I have.
Say this again. It's a funny story. We, as cast members, do funny things to mess with dumb guests because...
The intention of this was not to misdirect the guest, okay? So what happened was somebody came up to me. I'm working at the front entrance of the attraction. They have the park map, and they're looking at me and it says, how do we get into the Tower Terror? And I look at them, and I'm looking at the front gate that says entrance right behind me. And I go, you're trying to get through these gates, right? And they're like, yes. Okay, you got your map? Okay. So I grabbed their map, and I pointed to it, and I go, okay, so we're here, in front of the Tower Terror, right here, in front of the entrance. You're going to walk back. You're going to walk down, all the way down Sunset Boulevard. You're going to see a giant Mickey hat. Because this is at the time when there was a giant Mickey hat in the middle of the park. You're going to walk around the hat, then you're going to walk down Sunset Boulevard again, and you're going to come back to me, and you're going to walk past me up this hill through the gate. And they said, thank you, and they left. And I was all like, oh no.
That moment of, I could get fired.
I'm gonna get in trouble. I could get in trouble if they're persistent. There's some guests out there that are very persistent.
And so, like, my intention was not to make them do that. It was just me being the smart aleck, and I learned my lesson.
It's a great story, and cast members do little silly things like that because it really it decompresses the pressure of it. We mess with guests.
It's true, we do.
Yes, and so the point is we were trying to avoid arguing with guests.
Yes.
Our first goal is always to diffuse the situation and try to meet what their demands are without breaking the rules. And so that's always the situation, but sometimes guests just cross boundaries, right? So I have a story where I was working at the front doors of the Haunted Mansion, and it's dark. You go from a very bright, sunny Florida and to the Haunted Mansion where it is dark, to where you're pretty much blind. And so I open the doors and go, your time has come. And I step to the side and I don't move because it's a busy, hot day. I want to get guests in there. You're trying to get 90 people within a minute spiel into the stretch room and shut so that the next stretch can open. So you are systematically trying to keep everything flowing.
Timing big.
Everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so you don't want to be in the way or stop anything. Well, I had a teenager, thought I was fake. I don't know what it is about guests, but they have to touch everything. If you can touch it, you don't want to touch it because it's got germs on it. Well, this teenager thought it'd be funny, whether he thought I was real or not, stuck his 2 fingers in my nose and his thumb in my mouth. And I went into like instinctual mode where I swiped down and I pushed him hard against the wall. And you have guests flowing in because they want to make it in. It's hot and they want in that AC because it opens and it feels good. It's that cool breeze of like, welcome to your, it feels like a morgue. It just feels nice and cool. And this teenager was scared. And I just remember like my fist was clenched and it just takes over. And I just remember looking at him going like, Like, the thought was like, if you do anything else, you're going to get fired. Like, there was that thought come through, and I just remember just like, get out of here. And he just like went away, and I thought like, I'm gonna have a dad come after me, but that teenager, I scared him. Because in the end, like, guests are not supposed to assault cast members. And so in the end,
And vice versa.
Yeah.
I assaulted him, but in a way I was defending myself. But in a lot of these stories where cast members are defending themselves, they get fired.
They get fired.
They get fired, and I thought I was done. I was like, I'm gonna get fired, and my was on that like, that was the one time I was like, I'm gonna get. There's nothing.
Yep.
I'm
If
screwed.
you're a cast member and you get punched in the face,
take it.
you have to take it, run away. Like,
And yet there's still sometimes like, oh, why did you get punched in the face? Why were you put?
they still question you. So it is rough.
So after that incident, like, did you tell anyone?
I think I waited 6 months before I told someone because I did not want anybody.
Nope.
No manager found out about that. But
As long as there's not an incident report, it's as if it never happened.
yeah, if I had punched him, yeah, it definitely would have been. I would have been fired. I probably would have been charged for sure. So yeah, it's don't touch cast members, and cast members don't touch.
Yeah.
Don't respect boundaries, right?
And that also goes with don't don't have cast members hold your baby.
Yeah, we're no.
We're not allowed to
You're
touch
not allowed to touch
children
children, hold them.
or babysit
Or watch them. Yes.
Yeah.
We talked about that with guests behaving
badly.
in
Yes.
the other podcast. So, speaking of that guest acting badly, I had one lady. She was mean. She was screaming at me. She ran up the exit, which you're not supposed to do. I need this. Where? I need to get this. It was left here. And she was just screaming at me. You're preventing me, blah, blah. And I was like, ma'am, just wait here. I'll get someone. And somebody relieved me from my position because of rotation. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Lost and Found. And she's just screaming at me, saying I'm the worst whatever. I'm going to get you fired. And I was like, go to Lost and Found. And sure enough, her thing's in Lost and Found. And I go, well, that's nice. And I just shut Lost and Found. And I went to her, was like, it's not here. And I told her, you can go to City Hall at the end of the night. And you will be able to pick up your Lost and Found item there. And I recommend you go there, even if it's not there, to fill out the paperwork, and so that they can mail it to you or get it to you at your resort. And she was so mad, but she was just one of the most rotten guests. And so, am I a horrible human being for denying her? Yeah, but you know what? You get more you get more bees with honey than vinegar. And so just, we have our ways of getting back at you, and
Have a magical day.
yeah, have a magical day is one of our ways of saying, screw you.
Well, and another along that was when I was in Bell Service, we had this phrase that you're supposed to say is bon dia. That was the Caribbean beach, saying hello, welcome kind of thing. And there was a cast member that was did a great job with a guest, right? And one of the manager was like, oh, that would have been perfect. I would have gotten you a 4 keys if you just said bon dia.
Oh.
Yeah, and so that moment...
Oh boy, imagine the emphasis of sarcasm afterwards.
That moment was when all of the Bell Service team was all like, oh yeah, we will start using that phrase. And, we started using it a lot more. And manager's was like, oh, that's so great. But we were using it in the wrong...
Have a magical day. If a cast member says it snarky, have a magical day, it means more than screw you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you hear it, don't automatically assume it. If it's in a friendly,
Yes.
genuine,
Oh, have a magical day that's good.
that's good.
But have a magical day.
When they put that little emphasis on it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big middle finger to you, buddy.
I don't think I ever said it once, though. Because of my role.
Yeah.
Because of my role, I could just be like, I'm leaving.
That's good. Now, plenty of times.
Yeah, no.
I actually have a good story where the lady went up the exit and she wanted the manager, blah, blah, blah. I prevented her from going up at mission space, and the manager was walking her back, and so this is the cast member that did that? Well, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And, like, she was just so mad. She was livid. And I remember going, wait, ma'am. Excuse me. And I go, have a magical day. And my manager's like, he had the biggest grin on his face because she looked at me, like, with death in her eyes. But my manager just knew exactly what I was doing. And he couldn't do anything. What do you go, I said, have a magical day. You can't say, he said, have a magical day, which really means this. Like,
Yeah.
no. We have our ways of having fun. And
The ways cast members can get away with being snarky.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so we're on the show, because there's some kind of, like, transition between courtesy and show.
Yes.
While you're on stage, so there's off stage and there's on stage. On stage is when you're in the parks or when guests can interact with you.
Basically, anywhere, if you're a guest, you're on stage.
Yes. And if you're a guest and you're off stage,
You're
you'll still be
drunk.
treated nicely, but you're going to be like, you need to get back. One thing I know, like, I had a friend that was a Friends With character, and she explained that if you lose your head for whatever reason, you're fired.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, if they even rip it off your head, you're fired. And so there's that pressure to, like, defend yourself. And there are people there watching, and it doesn't happen. Like, there's ways of security.
Oh, yeah. It's very, especially when it comes to characters, there's a lot of rules when it comes to characters on what you can say, what your emotions are, like, even your locations. Okay? Because, like, it's part of the thing where there is one Mickey Mouse. There is one Snow White. Well, let's just say one time I was visiting the park and I saw two Snow Whites in one eyesight of each other. And I could tell one of the Snow Whites was running for her life because I was in the center of Cinderella's castle and they had the stage show going and they had the meet and greet at Liberty Square. And I saw her and Prince Charming running off stage because the show was going on and I saw Snow White on the stage. And so, like...
Yeah, you don't want kids going,
Yes.
wait a second.
Oh, yeah.
Preserving the magic is what it's all about.
You get big trouble.
And with that, for characters, which is any character that is in a costume, where their face is covered, they are not to talk.
Nope.
Period. Nothing. No little
sounds.
whispers, no sound. They are silent. You know, doesn't matter what they say, even if they hurt you, you're still, like, you have to hold it. And, like, you'll hear cast members who have been hurt, and they can't cry, they can't say ow, they're just there in silent torture, you know, for some of these situations, because you'll get fired. It's just part of the rules of being a Disney character.
But normally... they have a handler there.
They do.
So
Yes.
if there is an issue,
They have hand motions.
They have some sort of motion that
codes.
they can communicate to them saying, I need to leave.
Yeah. And so there it's not like these people are in this horrible job. There are protocols in place, but there are humans involved, and you'll have some character attendants that are not quite paying attention because you're dealing with a guest situation where they're freaking out because they want Aladdin and Jasmine, but they got Genie and Abu, and they're just, like, going nuts, and they don't want to wait in another 40-minute line for it. And so it happens. What else do I got? Like I said, it's an important rule for Disney characters to follow is they can't post backstage images on social media or associate, like, hey, this is me as Tigger, and because somebody goes on social media.
Yeah, Disney's aware of all social media.
So I have a story of me being in a place where I probably shouldn't have been at the Tower of Terror. So when you enter the lobby, okay, everything looks old, it's dusty, you know, it's very heavily themed, right? Well, there's certain areas where I've found myself hanging out when there are guests walking around. Like, there's, like, as you enter, right on your right is a little concierge desk. I've sat in that chair and waved at them as they came in. Granted, these were only on, like, extra magic hours
when
and the managers are all at Fantasmic. And there is no line, it's just a walkthrough, so I don't have to, like,
That's a good thing
If
about it.
there's
That's a good
hardly
tip.
any-
If there's a parade or show nearby, an attraction, most likely it's walk-on
Yes.
status.
Yeah.
I've been in there, as well as I've jumped over the front desk
Mm-hmm.
into like, and it's a tall wall. Like it's just about
It's
as
a
tall.
podium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big podium. So like I've jumped over it and like looked in the spot where all the keys are. There's even a little tribute to a person that died from cancer who loved the attraction that has been left in there.
Cool.
But nobody knows it's in there. Nobody would know it's in there. I mean, I was told about it in training, but later on, I jumped it in there and wave at guests as they come in, and I'd wait until like nobody was coming till I jumped out because there is a door, but it's locked. So that's one of those things that like I definitely could have gotten big trouble for.
Being somewhere where you're not supposed
Yes.
to be with the attraction, for sure.
New Year's Eve. Oh, that was a night of complete cast members behaving badly.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Because like managers they're so focused on
Other things.
Yes,
other things.
Somebody gets hurt, boom, you got a manager there, and they're writing up the incident report for legal.
And so at the attraction, hardly anyone's riding the ride because everyone's at the dance
shows,
parties and
right.
shows or whatnot. So like nobody's at the attraction. So like, oh yeah, there was a lot of shenanigans.
And you guys are on your last, usually CPs at night.
Oh, yeah.
They're either on their last night or their second to last night.
Yep.
So
Right.
they're like, I
cares?
made it. And I've heard stories CPs get fired on their last day and they don't get credit for whatever, or they can't put it on their resume.
I didn't get my
Or-
duck turret.
Yeah.
Or where they can't, they won't be hired
Yes.
by Disney for
Yeah.
like 6 years or something like that.
Really? I thought it was forever. Blackballed by Mickey himself. Okay, so another good example, I think I mentioned bad show, yelling at co-workers, or yelling at guests on stage. I yelled at a coworker on stage, and it was due to drama, and I was going through an emotional time period, and then another incident happened, and this person I did not like, and I did not like what she was doing, and it was the tiki room, and the guests were away, but like I definitely lost my cool, and a manager definitely pulled me to the side and was like, "What's going on?" And it wasn't more of like, I'm going to get you fired. Like, you're normally a good cast member.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't seem like you, and I'm going through everything, and they're just like, "Okay, well, we're going to get their side of the story, and we're just going to try to prevent this from happening in the future." So I built up enough credit with the managers where they were just like, okay, we're going to let this one pass. But if I was a crummy cast member, they probably would have, like, definitely leaned into me, try to get rid of me.
Well, and I had an incident where bellman, I was a dispatcher, and a lot of the time, like, you gotta be firm with the bellman, because they'll try to, like, take advantage of you, and, like, as far as, like, getting more luggage or whatnot, right? So you have to make everything fair. And I was, like, talking to one of the bellmen, and he misheard me on one of the walkie-talkies, which are poor quality, I must say.
Mhm.
It's a lot of like
Charlie Brown.
Yes, Charlie Brown. And so he misunderstood me on the walkie-talkie. He was like, I think he misunderstood me saying like I wasn't gonna give him any more like service, like bell tickets or whatnot for the rest of the day. And it was not the case at all. And he came in, drove up, and just starts reeling into me, just yelling, and I was just like, whoa, 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 and like, I didn't report him or anything. I probably should have, because he was saying some pretty rude things.
Yeah.
But after that, I think he realized,
He crossed the line.
He crossed the line, and now he's like, after that, and so he loved me and was all like super nice, and
You
I
get
was like-
nervous.
he got real nervous because I could have definitely reported him.
I had one cast member yell at me because he was doing the ride through and I forgot to turn the lights off in the Haunted Mansion. And he came back to scream because it's a 4-minute ride, so he do the whole ride again. And like he's like, "Here, turn on the lights." I was like, so I turned it off, and then like he started riding again, and I turned it back on, and he was like, "Oh!" and I just turned it off again because I knew we were getting close to like opening, and I didn't want to be the reason why we were not
Yeah.
being efficient. But I was like, this guy's a jerk, and like
I will say there was a time where I was yelling at a group of guests I don't know if I've shared this story.
No, I'm like,
No.
ooh, a new Disney story.
This,
from
I don't
Peter.
think I've shared this one. So this was a private party, and what private party normally means is open bar.
Oof.
So a lot of drunk people. And technically one of the rules for our attraction is they're not allowed to ride it if they're intoxicated.
Wish
Okay.
that was the case at Epcot. There's a challenge at Epcot where they go
You drink
drink
around-
around the world, where they
drink
drink
around
from
the world,
every
yeah.
pavilion, and then they go to Mission Space and they ride the ride,
Oh my gosh.
and people puke.
Yeah, I
Like
deal
that.
with those guests when they come back from the park, and you're just like, go to bed, please, go to bed.
So they're drunk on the ride.
So they're drunk. So they come in. And normally with these private parties, there's not really a rotation.
No, there's only like 4 or 5 people. It's skeleton
It's
crew.
skeleton crew. So like, I'm stuck at load this whole time. Which I love load because
It
I'm
goes
very
by fast.
I'm very theatrical. I love having fun with the guests. And this wasn't me yelling at them being mad at them. This was me yelling at them having fun with them.
Oh, good.
So this is like fun. Not necessarily good show, but it was good fun. So like I'm just like kind of like ripping on them. They're laughing. They're enjoying it to the point where like they would start asking for me. Like they would deliberately come to me and wait for me to call for him. They're like, no, we don't want you as the bellhop. We want him as the bellhop. So like they enjoyed what I was doing. So I
You're
wasn't
going a little off script, or
I was definitely going off script, and I was being really loud to the point where, like, I'm on one side of the boiler room. The guy that was working in I was working Delta. The guy in Alpha, he goes, I don't have to tell you guys the safety spiel. Just listen. And I'm just all like, seatbelts on left or right. And like one guy was like trying to call me out, and he's all like, you're not supposed to yell at us. And I'm all like, you're not supposed to ride the ride drunk now, are you? And he goes, good point. Good point. And so like, I found ways of like, I don't know what it was.
You get really creative.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Like, and it's so funny because like, and that was that occasion, and then I had other occasions where I wasn't like being rude. I was being play rude to people. Like I would just be like, because like there was always a lot of school groups, and they would, group of friends like to go ride the rides together, and there was like this group of seven kids that were obsessed. They were like borderline like stalking me. Like they were asking cast members like, is he on break? What position is he in?
Weird.
Yeah. And so like at first it was like annoying. And so I started just like treating them like they were scum, like talking down to them and like, oh, you guys again. Like things like that.
The privileges of working at the Tower of Terror.
Oh, totally. And so, and it's so funny too because the other cast members, the other bellhops, were getting jealous because I was getting all this like people kept asking for me, and like, oh. And so at the end of the night, like, and towards the end of the day, because it was a full day, like they literally, because at the time, like the two big attractions that teenagers like were Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror, which are right next to each other. So
you go back and forth.
They go back and forth. So I saw them literally all day long, and so. By the end of the day, like, it was fun for me. Like, it became fun of, okay, like, just me kind of dogging on them, sending them in their elevator, and then at the end of the day, they asked the manager if I could ride with them. Manager said no.
I would have been cool. Like,
But they ended up buying that picture and bought it for me. And I still have that picture.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, was it a good theme for me to be, like, ripping on guests? No, it wasn't. But it still led to a good outcome.
So
Good guest experience.
So I've got a good story that goes along with that, where I crossed the line. So we're in the outside, so there's the queue guy. So your job is to fill in the queue outside
You're at the
front
Haunted
doors, at the Haunted
Mansion.
Mansion. So you're trying to fill it in where the gravestones are, because like I said, you only have 1 minute to get everybody in. And so if everyone's staggered, everyone like zombies in because they're just burned out. So you want to squeeze them in as much, fill in all the dead space, fill in all the dead. You're always like moving in. And so I had this one girl, she was sitting on the trash can, just being obnoxious. And I was like, you must be trash because you are exactly where you're at. Unless you don't want to be trash, get off the garbage can. And everyone's like, oh! my trash! And like I'm sitting there going like, no, I'd probably cross the line there. I just called the girl trash. And so
Yeah, that's a lawsuit.
yeah, ashamed. Again, there's not some good moments, but they were funny. And like you say, we're not treating them right. You know, there's just moments where you push the boundary a little bit.
Yes.
So I mentioned your job as the butler is not to scare people. And
Same with the bellhop.
You're not supposed to.
You're not
Do
supposed
you?
to. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh,
So,
yeah.
as you exit the ride, you're all feeling good at the Haunted Mansion. Well, there's an ADA, walkway. And so when you're there, if you're busy, you got guests, and you're moving there. But if you're not, it's just the slowest position ever. So I'd sit there and I would just creep on the corner. And I would wait till someone's coming. And then I'd be like, how you doing? And then they would just be like, ah! Well, I scared a group of young ladies so badly that one left her flip-flop and never came back. And I felt so bad because she was walking the park with one flip-flop. And so I always felt bad, but I was bored.
No, I
I feel bad, but it's like if she really wants a flip-flop, she goes to a caterer like, I lost my flip-flop on the Haunted Mansion. She'll get a free flip-flop. Like,
yeah.
I'm not that worried about her.
So, for me, I don't necessarily think, what I did here was so bad, but I did...
It goes against the protocol.
The protocol of I'm not supposed to scare people.
It's when you're training someone, you're like, this is how you're supposed to do it, but this is what I do.
Yeah.
And so, basically, what I would do, because I knew the timing of everything, and one of my favorite positions was everyone's least favorite position, which was the library, where you sit in the library and you watch the Tower of Terror video, Twilight Zone video, which all the cast members hate because you watch it 30 times in an hour. It's frustrating. So I decided to have fun with it, and so I knew the timing. So this part was good show in terms of I had a spiel when people were in the library. I knew the timing from when the door closed and the movie started, so I knew how to phrase things and be like, don't touch anything for you just might upset, and the door would close, the hotel, and then the movie would start.
Yeah.
I had that timing down. Now, that's not the part I'm talking about. What I would do at this point, I would sit in the back, and I would look around.
You pick a target.
I would pick a target.
I did the same thing in the stretch room. You actually inspired me to do this in the stretch room at the Haunted Mansion.
So I would pick a target, and, you pick someone, you're like, that person's going to scream. That one's going to freak out. So what you do is, the movie's playing, I don't move at all until the last second. When the movie ends, there's 1 or 2 seconds where it's completely pitch black.
And you actually know how to maneuver in the dark through gaps where you're not touching them so no one knows.
And so, literally in 2 seconds, I'm in one corner of the library to another corner right in front of a guest. And I'd be like, thank you for waiting at the top of my lungs. And they would just be like, whoa! For freaking out.
The best ever.
And the best thing is that people who would know me would be like, I was watching you the whole time. I didn't even see you move. People would come to the library waiting for me. They're watching me throughout the whole movie, waiting for me to make my move. And I would do it. And they'd be like, I didn't see you move. And because that's how good I am.
I used to do that. And sometimes when I walk by, I guess I'd be like, and they would be like, what is that? My favorite thing is just do that, flicker, there's always my way, and then it flickers the lighting, and then I would be right up in their face, to the point where I'm like, I am so close, and they turn on and I'm right there. And then you do right this way, and they freak them out.
Oh yeah.
You're not supposed to do that.
I did a similar thing, but with luggage.
You're like, have a magical day!
No, I'm kidding.
Thanks, Jackie. We really influenced you there. My brothers are not going to one-up me here. I've got them here.
You win. If that's what you did. If you popped out of people's luggage, you win.
She's in their match. She's still like, how was your stay? I'm like, she's hiding in the closet, and they're like, have a magical day.
No, I did not do that.
So there are moments. So I'm going to transition. Moments where you will tell guests that are things that are not true. So one thing that guests would come to Magic Kingdom. Mickey Mouse used to have a house there, And so it got so tiresome for me to tell guests that Mickey's Mouse house is no longer there because they're heartbroken. They like it. I would just continue with more heartbroken by telling, well, and this was around 2010, so it's like, well, you know, the Great Recession, it's been really hard, so Mickey Mouse lost his house, you know, and guess what? It's
his
kind of
country
funny.
house. It's his country. It's his second home.
Come on, it's Mickey Mouse. Like, this is his park, all right? Are we really worried about Mickey Mouse? This thing? And so I told this story, and other cast members thought it was funny. It was clever. It's just, it was off the cusp. Like, I didn't plan it out. It just happened. And so I had people that worked Fantasyland, too, that worked at the Haunted Mansion, and they started using it, and it spread around Fantasyland. And it's like 4 months later, and we're in this, like, beginning, like, huddle meeting before, and the manager's like, I've got something horrible to talk about. And, like, or no, it's like, I have something to talk about what's going on in Fantasyland. And it goes, like, someone's going around saying Mickey Mouse's house is no longer here because it was foreclosed on. And it was just, and I was like, oh, I was about to raise my hand, like, that was me! I started that rumor! And it's like, that is just horrible show. It's not part of Disney. And I was like, I felt like Homer Simpson going back into the bushes. I was like, oh, that's not me. I did not do that. Like, but I was like, but really deep down, I was like, I started that rumor. It spread. It was me. But yeah, that was another bad show. Like, but I am proud of that. Another proud moment I have is Walt's frozen head. Or Walt is frozen. So the backstory of this is early on working at the Haunted Mansion, I obviously don't know my boundaries as a new butler and what I can and cannot say. Obviously, I knew this wasn't right because I had already worked at Mission Space and I knew, well, basic courtesy or being on stage. And so this guest was really mad, you know, just so mad that grad night is here and he has to leave the park at 6 o'clock. It was like the last time our Magic Kingdom was doing grad night. And so usually we have a special event, Christmas party, Halloween party, park closes at 6, guests have to leave, special wristbands allow you to stay in the park. Sure enough, this guest is just so mad, just digging into me. He's like, I'm just so mad. Why didn't you tell me? And I'm just going through the spiel going, well, you were notified when you walked through the gates or it's on the ticket and special event. You know, you always go to City Hall and explain your situation, but I'm just going to tell you, they're not going to give you your money back. You know, I'm sorry. You know, I'm just letting them know, like, there's nothing I can do about it. And when guests complain to cast members about operational things outside of their ride or what they can do, when I'm standing at the front going, welcome to the Haunted Mansion, you know, the entrance is here, and try to key, you know, that's all I do and say in that position. It's just to lean into a guest about something you have a grievance about the park in general, or with Disney in general, or your ethics with Disney. You're just getting on their nerves, so don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, this guy just kept getting into me, and he's like, you know what? Walt would be rolling in his grave if he knew what you guys were doing here. And I was all like, excuse me, sir, wait one moment. We all know Walt is frozen in a tube in Scottsdale, Arizona next to Ted Williams. And he just looked at me like I was so crazy. Like I just told him aliens had just landed in the park and he needs to get popcorn for them. Like he was just like, he didn't even say anything. He just looked at me like, oh, and he just walked away. And I'm like, I need to do this more often. Like, it was not very good. I never said that story ever to anybody else, but me being a goofy person, I just thought it was funny, and I think it is funny to tell a guest that Walt is frozen. Like, I was dead serious when I told him. I was like, I needed to correct some. Walt is not buried. He's in a frozen tube, and that's kind of like why I wanted to name the podcast.
Yeah, that was
a potential name.
I actually found the list of all the names we tried to come up with for the podcast.
Oh, did you?
I did. I just found it when I was cleaning out my desk, and I was all like, oh, this is
the
it.
Early on list. We had
Yeah.
a good, 20 names.
Yeah,
we were going
We
through.
each had
names.
five names each. So,
Yeah.
But we are the Matterhorn Yodelers.
yes.
So if you want a good podcast name, no. It's trademarked. Get your own. What else do I've got? Efficiency. I think we kind of talked about this with safety. You don't want to disrupt the flow of things. So if there's a domino effect, you shut down one ride, it'll affect the other ones. Like Splash Mountains goes down, you're like, oh, crud. Like, we're going to have 70 minutes worth of people going out to everybody else. and it weighs on everything.
Yes.
And so if you are responsible for stopping the ride for whatever reason, you can get in trouble. Do you have a story about that?
More or less. So, like, I have a couple examples. So, like, for example, timing. For example, at Tower Terror, timing is everything. So, like, you have to make sure, like, when you're loading guests onto the attraction, like, you are quick. So, you can't get bogged down into your own spiel and, like, trying to entertain everyone. You need to make sure you're sending things out on time. Because if you're off, it throws the other elevator off. Because because at the load, there's 2 loads, but that's one ride system. So if you mess up the timing on one, it slows the other one down. And
Timing is everything.
It's everything.
They've planned it out, and they have a system. And if you disrupt it, managers want to know. Because they have goals, and they get bonuses for reaching those capacity rules that they are expected to meet. And so I late at night, I broke the efficiency rule where I was trying to impress a fellow cast member. I was trying to ask her out, and so I was on.
You dog.
Yeah, I was at the load. I was at the exit part of the Haunted Mansion. So it's an Omni Mover, and there's that belt, and you have to be like, watch your step. There's nobody there, and I remember her like coming around. We're just talking, and like. She was walking away. She was just like checking the rack board or something. And I was just like standing on the conveyor belt, just going backwards with her. And she was like, she stopped. And so I stopped, and I was like, I'm going to be really slick right here. And I just like stopped the ride. And I just like asked her out there. Because at unload, you can stop because you have like slow gas or anything. So I can always just be like, there's no cameras there. And I was like, there was a slow gas. You know, I could get away with that. But I look back and going, that wasn't really, really smart. And at the time, I was like, I'm going to be really slick, and I'm going to impress this girl. I did get her phone number, but she did stand me up.
Oh.
I remember, but the thing is, I asked her out, and I could see the panic on her face of like, I don't want to go out with you. And I saw that, and so I wasn't too heartbroken when she stood me up. I was like, no, all right, yeah, whatever.
No.
Move on.
I have so rotation is a big deal. This is the last one I have.
I've got something to piggyback off that.
Yeah, so rotation is a big deal because rotation controls people's breaks. So managers are all about that. Like, you got to make sure when you get the rotation sleep, you go to your next role so that the person can head back to the computer so that somebody can get their breaks.
Yes, because cast members are really only in the position between like 30 and 45 minutes.
Should be. Sometimes it ends up...
The longest I ever was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
I was about an hour and a half.
I never had that luxury.
I was about an hour and a half on load, which at that point, like, you start losing your voice because you're talking the whole time. But so what happened was it was a busy day, so like we were overstaffed. And so like there was like 3 or 4 of us on tasks. And what tasks are not important jobs. They're like, they're just like, we don't have a role for you right now. Go talk to some guests out front.
Create a magical moment.
Create a magical moment. Some will say, like, take a suitcase out there and go talk to guests. Give a family a VIP tour, which is just take them to the front of the line.
That's a fun one to do.
Yeah. Or, dress a little kid up as a little bellhop.
We had the little butler and maid.
Oh, yeah. Those are great. And they do an unload thing. We normally do that with kids that are waiting for their family that's riding the ride.
Oh,
so that they escort their family off the ride.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes. That's what we like to do for them.
We would just have them open the front doors.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd be like, your time is come! And so we were like, that's scary.
So the 3 of us were on task, and we were like entertaining this family, and we were probably out there for a good 40 minutes.
Oof.
We were out there.
Boy.
We were out there for a while. And so this family loved it. Like, we had so much fun with them, and at the end of the day, the manager was giving us all the lecture. We have our end of the night huddle, and she's, you guys need to make sure that you guys come back on your tasks on time, that everything, it's important. And then the next line of business was recognition.
And then they
and the family went to guest services and gave us recognition that day, and so like immediately she's like, and
I'm gonna brush it over.
and they're like, and these three, and they named us. It says got recognized by this family for doing making a extra magic moment special for this family on their task. And so we got like an award and yet a punishment. Like we got chewed out.
You see the conflict where managers project that, where they're like, efficiency's the fourth key, but you know what? It's the most important one to them. Like they say safety is, but there's that boundary on the holidays where like safety is
Safety!
Like, you're just like, boy, we're really pushing it
Yeah.
here with what we're doing. Like stretch rooms are only supposed to have 90 people, and it's like a mosh pit in there.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, oh boy. I did something with Task. I gained this system where cast members know when they go out. And I work with college program students, and so they're just naively like, yeah, I'm going to go. And I would just sit and wait and watch them go in and then pull rotation. I'd be like, oh, because I know how many people are supposed to be there. And I know, like, okay, they rotate Task. We're just like, oh, mop this area, sweep the queue. And you're just like, no. One time I did Task for like 4.5 hours. I had a 6-hour shift with a lunch. So I pretty much tasked for like a whole shift. And they were like, the CPs were like, how do you keep getting the task? And I was like, I don't know, I'm just lucky. And I'm all like, you guys are so green. Like all the full-time people are just like, oh, this is how you do it. Like, and I was like, that's why I work nights. Because
Nights, you get away with so much working nights.
It's true.
Yeah. And it was more so at the Tiki Room, because it was such a large area, because you have Tiki Room, Aladdin, and the Swiss Family Treehouse, and so I walk up the tree and stuff. So we've done like efficiency. I just want to hit up on the points and some stories I have with stealing. So I have a story where one lady, she, you can't steal money from register, obviously, but Disney's got one way. They have cameras that overlook the cash register, and if they see that there's an inconsistency, they start watching you. And some people think they're getting away with stuff, and they will watch you until you pretty much reach a felony level amount of money, and then they will charge you. So they let you hang yourself with your own rope. And so Disney's watching.
Disney has undercover
security.
Yeah.
Like they dress like guests, so like you will not know that it's them, but they're watching you.
Yeah.
I was on my last day as a CP, as a front desk agent, you have to balance your till and make sure, the money you took out is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And my last day, I was $1 short. And you're just like, oh no, that fear of what's the manager gonna do?
Right.
And my manager just took out $1 and put it in the till and was like, it's your last day, it doesn't matter.
Oh, that's good. Larry wouldn't have done that. He would have taken $1 and been like, he took $2!
There was a situation with a cast member and supposed stealing from Lost and Found.
That's huge.
Yeah, so basically the situation was I was working tower control. So tower control is in this separate box room, so you're not in front of
Command
guests.
center
Is
tower.
the command center. Is giant computer covering the wall. It is massive. And so there's two of us in there, and then one person's coming in, and I think they were heading out for the day. I think they were leaving. And they were just talking with us. And I didn't see this happen, but supposedly the person that was leaving took something out of Lost and Found. It could have been sunglasses. I don't remember what
That's
it
very
was.
common. I saw cast
what it
members take
normally is.
sunglasses,
It's sunglasses.
and you're like, yeah, because money and wallet, that would get sent to the manager, and that would get locked up.
Yeah.
That wasn't accessible.
So they left, and then the person who's working the other tower was all like, "Did you see that?" And I'm like, "No, what happened?" I think she just took something from Lost and Found. I don't know what happened. I didn't see it. And then I showed up on the report because that other cast member filed a report saying that she thinks that person was stealing something from Lost and Found. So I got pulled in to the managers. I was extremely nervous. It says, "You're on this report. Did you see this person take?" It's like, so I had two things going on. So one, I'm working tower control. I'm supposed to be watching the monitors.
The most stressful position ever.
It is the most stressful position ever, watching guests ride the ride. Two, I wasn't necessarily watching the cameras. I was talking with the person next to me. So basically, there were two ways I could have gotten in trouble here. So I took the safest way and said, I didn't see it. I was watching monitors. I was doing my job.
Yeah, and if you didn't see anything, you can
And I didn't.
speculate.
And I didn't. And that was the truth. I hadn't seen anything. I just said I was...
What if you did see it? Do you think you would have said, like, you would have, like, I was looking at the console, like, because you're like, I don't want to get fired. Like, why weren't you working the console? They'll surprise you like that, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, so, I mean, I got out of there fine, but, like, and I don't know what happened, because those weren't people I normally associated with at work, those cast members, but,
The afternoon part-timers.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or they just pop up here once in a while.
Yeah.
Seasonal, yeah.
So the Disney is very much on you.
Oh, yeah.
About that stuff. So much that, like, a cast member that we worked with, he made a parody of an old song at Disney World. It was the One Little Spark from the Imagination, old attraction from the Epcot for the Imagination Pavilion. And so, like, it was all about the different way. Like, it was just termination, and then, you know, the chorus was just him singing, like, termination the whole time. And then I started
Instead of
working...
imagination.
Imagination. It's termination. And so I started working on, like, the main... like part of the song,
Kind of the chorus.
that was the chorus, but like the main verse of the song where it's like, "Hello, I am your manager." Can they be fired too? Of course, termination can happen to any of us.
It's true, and there's just set rules, like, you know, do rapid fire where there's a custodial lady. She was just taking the bottle caps out of the trash for the Coca-Cola promos, and trash is Disney property, and she got fired. And then there was a story where a lady got popcorn on her shirt, and she popped it in her mouth. Stealing, right there. One piece of popcorn. She was fired. And then I was just reading this story where one lady, she saw a rat in a corner, freaked out, and she was working in the, what do they call it? The confectionery?
Yeah, the confectionery.
And she had all this candy apple stuff, I guess $1,000 worth, and she dropped it, and they fired her. And it's just like, Disney doesn't joke around. They have their lines, and they know it.
Yep.
And they will fire you. And so, yeah, it's like you said, your managers, they're there, but they're also they're there to protect the company. So there are many ways to get fired, like Peter has mentioned in his song, and you know, it's. Guests think that cast members get away with everything. It's not true. We're squeezed.
Yes.
And so, just remember, cast members are people too. And don't take them too serious. Because I don't want you walking around in a circle ending up right back at the Tower of Terror.
Because keep in mind, they're all minimum wage workers here.
Yes.
So...
yeah, I've been threatened many times, and I would be sarcastic going, "Please don't get me fired from my minimum wage job. Oh no, I will have to flip burgers for $2 more an hour." And they would just they would look like they've lost all their power. You know, like, "I'll go to like City Hall," and like with my name being Japheth, you know, they would look at the name tag and they would just be like, "Okay."
Japheth.
Yeah, like when I worked at the Magic Carpets of Aladdin, they were so upset that they were like, "You know what, Jafar, you're a bad guy. I'm going to tell them at City Hall that the Jafar and Aladdin is a bad guy." And I just, you know what?
Do it.
Do it. I hear, look, try and spell it too, you know, like, and they're like, "I will." And I'm sure City Hall got the biggest laugh from this crazy person, so... but have fun in the parks.
Yes.
I think this is going to conclude our podcast. Cast members may seem perfect, but we're not innocent. So
True.
But we also have fun, and we want to make the experience good for you.
we do.
Yes.
We make it fun, and we push boundaries. But it's fun. And again, these are little moments over a span of
Correct.
period, you know.
For the most part, we all obeyed the rules.
We do.
From the way this podcast worked, Jackie comes off as a saint because she hardly
She's
said
the one
anything.
hiding in people's closets going like, "Have a magical day!"
Yeah. true.
In my mind, it is because it's a great story.
No, mine were like, I accepted a $5 tip when I wasn't supposed to.
You devil, you. So with that being said, please follow us on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook. Email us at matterhornyodelers@gmail.com. And we do have a YouTube. It's just more of a recording. If you want to watch it on that platform, follow us on any of the podcasts, streaming services. And with that being said, is there anything else? No? All right. I'm the worst at the social media aspect. With that being said, have a magical day.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.